During the early 2000s, animators and their studios started phasing out 2D, hand-drawn animations. Movies like The Emperor's New Groove, Tarzan, An American Tail, Lilo and Stitch, Jungle Book, Aristocats, and all the original animated movies are now an outdated form of artwork. The first computer animated franchise was the Toy Story films. The first Toy Story is still one of my favorite Pixar films, and was a big step into 3D animation. I appreciate computer animation and the amount of detail that they can render into each landscape, but there's a certain feeling 2D animation gives me as a viewer. No offense to any 3D animators or artists, but the cartoons that have come out over the last several years have been kind of lackluster. The animation can come across as dull and unappealing, and the characters' design aren't overly different from the next. My argument for bringing back animation of this style is that the movies were easier on the eyes and not so overly refined. Cartoons have become too detailed, and I think there's an argument to be made that video games have become too complicated as well. The colors were more vibrant, and the simplicity of older cartoons made them feel calming and more upbeat. Emperor's New Groove was one of the last 2D animated movies I saw in a theater. The movie was wonderfully animated and original. The way scenes were drawn added humor to the film. And for some reason, I don't think Yzma turning into a cat would translate and be as funny in 3D. And then if you look at Lilo and Stitch, which was another great animated film that also used some things that were 3D, it would still be weird if Stitch wasn't in 2D. Stitch being a 3D character wouldn't look as good. To me, I feel like the shelf life of hand-drawn characters will always be longer. Yes, Woody and Buzz will always be memorable and great characters. But hand-drawn characters like SpongeBob, Stitch, The Simpsons, and Robin Williams' Genie will last longer, in my opinion. For kids born in the last 15 or even 20 years, 3D animated movies are all they know. I think viewers have lost appreciation for the artistic talent that goes into drawing something by hand. It takes imagination for someone to sit down and create new characters on paper and then make them come to life with every facial movement, and even down to the way they walk. A room full of animators designing concepts and characters have been replaced with render farms. I remember watching artists and behind-the-scenes videos showing how they draw their characters and how they started with simple shapes that transformed into lovely characters. But making a movie is expensive, and a room full of people drawing is also very expensive. Designing a character, the landscape, and all the other movie assets with 3D programs can be done by a team and be used over and over in every scene. Disney started making cartoon movies into live action, and for the most part, I haven't found them to be as enjoyable as the original. But imagine if they took 3D movies that have already been made and released them as high-quality 2D animated films. I think the perspective change would make the films once again profitable. The voice work is already done, but you can make the experience something completely new. Sadly, I don't think a return to original animation will ever happen, and I think that's mostly due to cost. As well as the artists that were well versed in drawing everything by hand are becoming more scarce. But if one did come out, I'd like to think that'd be a welcome change and would bring people that love the old cartoons back to the theater once again.